Hi, and welcome back to the Mind of the Writer. So, if you've been following the series as a whole on the psychology of writing, but also this sort of summer series on the authoring of love, you'll know that I had these sort of preliminary videos where I was sort of setting up some groundwork, some ideas that I was playing around with. And then we had the three more formal videos that I did with the help of Matthew Stiletti, the videographer. And now in September, what I want to do is go back to the videos where I'm kind of talking to you and sharing my thought process, some of the ideas that are continuing to go through my head as I begin to embellish and work on these theories, and then eventually I'll have some more videos from Matthew. I did want to say, however, that with these videos on love writing, as not to swamp you with love writing, we may take a break from them after September and then come back to love. We'll explore some other things in the psychology of writing, or otherwise, already I'm feeling kind of like up to my neck in love writing. So last week I talked about art imitating life and using that as a solid mantra or philosophy when it comes to doing the love writing. So some of the things that would make for a good experience in the off-page world, well then chances are those would translate very well into the on-page world. Today I want to talk about context. So you'll know that in the formal videos I talked about context, and I gave that love scene the context of memory, and then I gave it the context of infidelity, and then I gave you three alternative extra contexts that you could put onto that love scene to sort of really give it some weight and really give it some gravitas. And what I didn't say in that video, however, is that you could also combine all three of those additional contexts. I believe it was the priest, the prison, and the cruel husband. You could actually put that all into one larger context and really, set that love scene in a, well, in a, I don't want to say convoluted situation, but definitely in a very dense plot. When you're writing a novel, you have the space to do that. So you might not do that in a short story or in a poem, and you can have a love scene in a poem, but you could definitely in a novel really play around with multiple contexts and have different layers just to provide, there wouldn't be one love scene, but to provide a series of love scenes with, with a lot of interesting cushioning around them. But today I wanted to talk about the context for the writer themselves, because when we're writing, we come to the page with our own contexts. And you will have seen this. If you've watched these YouTube videos, you will have seen me talk about this before. I believe in some of the other graphic videos earlier on. But that as writers, we have our own scaffolding, the scaffolding of our off-page worlds, and often that involves spouses, children, significant others, jobs, and all kinds of things. And when I come to the page, I have a fairly traditional scaffolding, in that I've been married for a long time and I have three grown children, and my father is a minister, but there's a sort of a traditional scaffolding. And yet when I'm writing, I just completely let go, and I, on the page, I get up to all kinds of, crazy things that I wouldn't be able to do in my off-page life. So in another video, I'll talk about my journey with that, and hopefully that will resonate with others. But when it comes to love writing and writing explicit scenes, how do you contextualize that within this traditional scaffolding, or within a scaffolding that perhaps would not look too favorably on that kind of writing? So I would say, for me that I contextualize that type of writing by telling myself this is art, it's creativity, but it's also my job and it's my work. And once you contextualize your creativity as work, it doesn't deny this creative artistic force. It doesn't cancel out the flow or anything like that. But it definitely gives it validity and this sense of legitimacy in order to create art. And so by giving my more explicit writing the context of it being work, that enables me to go into that part of my mind when I'm writing. I look at it as a room. I go into that room. I shut the door to my off-page life behind me, and I give myself fully to those characters and to the story. And just to reiterate, it's taken me many years to get to that point because I have had this traditional upbringing. But once I shut that door in my mind behind me, I am at work. I'm just not at work in a traditional office building. I'm at work in my imagination. And in my imagination, part of my work is being free. For a writer, another writer, that may mean that they're going to use a muse or a series of muses to do that love writing. I think I'm going to do a video later to share with you my process on what I think of muses or what a muse is for me. I mean, for me, I have a very, very wide range. As you know, I don't look at sort of as a person as a muse in my case. But and I definitely want to share that process with you, what I do, to come up with these characters or what, inspires me to write them. But within the context of the work, I would say it's perfectly fine to have a muse. You do whatever it takes to get the job done. And that may sound very cold and clinical, but for me, you can be clinical and strategic and very focused on getting that job done while still being very creative and emotionally open and all of those things. One doesn't cancel out the other. So in today's video, and I'm losing my voice because I've done a few videos today, I just wanted to say that another way of bolstering your confidence and your belief in yourself when you do that kind of writing is to contextualize it in the framework of a job and work, because there are so many jobs where you have to do certain things within those jobs, but outside of the boundaries of that job, it wouldn't be appropriate to do that. So when you're doing creative work, you're writing movies or you're writing TV shows or you're writing novels or stories that contain these love scenes and explicit scenes within the context of work, it's well, I mean, it's not just okay. It's a lot of fun, and for me, it's one of the great parts of the job. So we'll see you next week on The Mind of the Writer.